Have you ever just dreamed of floating through a real-life aquarium? Well, today we're doing it. We're plunging into the crystal clear waters of Hurghada, Egypt to explore one of the most vibrant and one of the most accessible underwater ecosystems on the entire planet. So get ready, we're heading into a true coral kingdom.
That really paints a picture, doesn't it? But, what are the actual building blocks of this underwater city? Well, it all starts with the architects of the entire ecosystem, the corals themselves.
So, to really appreciate the reef, you gotta meet its master builders. These incredible living structures, the corals, well, they come in two main fascinating types that pretty much shape the entire underwater landscape.
What's really fascinating is how simple it is to tell them apart. It literally comes down to just counting. The tiny little animals, the polyps that make up hard corals, they have tentacles in multiples of 6. But soft coral polyps, they always have 8. It's a simple little trick that lets you identify the two major families of the reef. Speaking of hard corals, this one is a big deal. Staghorn coral is a super important reef builder, and you can probably guess it gets its name because it looks just like deer antlers. These branching structures create these dense underwater thickets that become vital shelter for countless fish. And then you have this one. I don't think you need any hints on how it got its name. The grooved brain coral is just unmistakable. Its intricate maze-like folds look exactly like a human brain. What's absolutely incredible is that these massive structures can be hundreds of years old, growing just a few millimeters every single year. Now, let's switch over to the soft corals. While they don't really build the reef's foundation, the elegant Gorgonian sea fan adds this layer of incredible, delicate beauty. And here's a fun fact. If you look really closely within this branching network, you might just find one of the ocean's true masters of camouflage, the tiny pygmy seahorse. So where on Earth can you experience all this incredible biodiversity up close? Well, let's zoom in on a world-class hub right on the coast of the Red Sea that has become a true mecca for divers from all over the world. Hurghada used to be just a quiet little fishing village, but it completely transformed into a premier diving destination for these very reasons. The conditions are almost perfect. The water is warm all year, the visibility is consistently amazing, and there's a huge variety of dive sites just a short boat ride away. Okay, so what can you actually expect to see if you go out for a day trip from Hurghada? Let's take a quick tour of a few of the most popular dive sites. Classic first stop is the protected area right around Gifton Island. This is where you're going to find those postcard-perfect Red Sea coral gardens. The currents are usually gentle, the light is amazing, which makes it a favorite for underwater photographers, and it's absolutely perfect for beginners. For a truly magical encounter, though, a lot of trips head north to a site called Shab El Erg, but it's much better known as Dolphin House. Its sheltered lagoons are a favorite resting place for pods of wild dolphins, which gives divers, and even snorkelers, a very real chance to swim among these incredible animals. And for the more adventurous divers out there, Hurghada is a gateway to some absolutely incredible wreck diving. You can explore the local El Mina, which is an Egyptian minesweeper, or you can take longer trips to the famous ship graveyard of Abu Nuhas. It's a haunting and totally fascinating look into underwater history.
This all sounds amazing, right? But you're probably wondering, how accessible is this for the average traveler? So let's break down the practicalities, specifically the costs.
This table gives you a really clear idea of what to expect. A standard day trip for someone who's already a certified diver is very affordable. For complete beginners, you can do an introductory dive, which lets you try it out with an instructor. And for anyone staying longer, the multi-day packages, that's where you get the best value. And here's the really amazing part. If you commit to one of those multi-day packages, the cost for a single dive can drop to as low as $19. That is incredible value for world-class diving, especially when you compare it to other famous locations all around the globe. Of course, having the privilege to experience this kind of beauty comes with a deep responsibility to protect it for the future. The Red Sea's ecosystem is, it's both really resilient and incredibly fragile. The reefs here face some pretty significant threats from both global pressures and local ones. And one of the most serious and most visible signs of this stress is a phenomenon called coral bleaching. So what happens is, when water temperatures get too high, the corals get stressed out, and they expel the symbiotic algae that live inside their tissues. These algae provide most of their color and their food. So when they're gone, the corals turn bone white. They aren't dead, but they're starving.
And it's a major reason why conservation is so incredibly critical right now.
Thankfully, there are local organizations like HEPCA, the Hurghada Environmental Protection and Conservation Association, and they are working tirelessly to protect this ecosystem. They're running campaigns to reduce plastic waste, establishing codes of conduct for dolphin encounters, and even pioneering reef restoration projects.
And the great news is that every single visitor could be part of the solution. Just by following these simple, responsible diving practices, like choosing eco-conscious operators, mastering your buoyancy so you never touch the coral, and avoiding single-use plastics, you can really help preserve this paradise.
Ultimately, the future of these spectacular underwater gardens, it really depends on the choices we all make. Not just as travelers exploring their beauty, but as guardians of our shared planet. It's a treasure that is absolutely worth protecting.